Good afternoon. We can start. We got the presenter right now. As per timetable, we have two sessions, two classes actually in this session, cargo and safety. So I plan to start with cargo and finish off Roro lashings and then move on to safety. This is the plan of action. We were on the Roro discussion yesterday and what was left was lashings. So let us complete that and then we will move on to safety. You may note down these three of the resolutions which talk about securing vehicles on ships. These three resolutions you will note down, which you will need to quote in your answer. A.533 bracket 13, A.581 bracket 14, and A.489 bracket 12 in Romans. These are the annexures or the resolutions, IMO resolutions. You will need to, in this resolution, actually we are more concerned with annexure for safe storage and securing of wheel-based cargoes. This is the basis. You may have a go at this. I mean, you may note down this one, three resolutions. Obviously, the ship, Roro ship, any ship but Roro ship should be carrying a cargo securing manual in accordance with this resolution number, which will contain information or recommendations for securing wheel-based cargo, which is Roro. Recommendations: distance between securing points in the longitudinal direction should not exceed 2.5 meters. But there could be a need for securing forward and after parts of the ship to be more closely spaced. When you are securing in the forward part and the after parts of the vessel, where the motion of the vessel is enhanced, more pronounced, you may have to space them more closely than amidships. But in general, longitudinal direction, securing points should not be more than 2.5 meters apart. A thwartship not to be less than 2.8 and not more than 3 meters. Again, when you are doing it in the forward and after parts, it may be required to space more closely than amidships. If the number of lashings in the securing point are more than one, let us say y number of lashings, then the maximum securing load on each securing point should be not less than y into 100 kilonewton. Y is the number of lashings to one securing point. And the angle of the lashing with the deck should be like this, 30 to 45 degree recommended, this angle. Or if the lashings are like this, the point on the vehicle and then going like this on some securing point, then this angle should be 15 to 30 degree. Over here also you can draw a line and then this angle will be called beta, 15 to 30 degree. Claspers, these are called claspers. Vehicles are lashed with claspers. Point on the vehicle and then there are pad eyes welded here on the deck, and this is how you lash it with claspers. Chocks. और
इस इमेज में सर चोक्स,
सॉरी
सर ये चोक्स जो आप बोल रहे हैं ये नीचे वाली इमेज में है ना?
ये
चोक्स है सर?
करेक्ट.
ओके सर.
Or no securing point simply by using chocks and claspers like this. Just to hold it in position and not allow it to move. Going right round, this is called clasper. Another example of the same thing, and this one, to put them in position, and as you can see the deck is covered with rubber matting to provide friction. some angles to be made, favorable lashings against sliding and against flip tipping so that it does not topple over. There is a mention about monitoring atmosphere in Roro spaces because internal combustion engines exhaust gases into the hold, intermediate decks, or any other compartment. So, atmosphere is to be tested as frequently as possible to prevent any carbon monoxide concentration from exceeding allowable limits. This is mentioned into the TTS also, the need to monitor atmosphere in Roro spaces. Then these tests are to be done in the area in which workers are working, and these are done by the people who are competent and have got a training in test equipment and procedures. Need to monitor exhaust gases in Roro spaces rather. This is also important. No loose papers floating around in Roro areas because papers can be sucked into the ventilation system, blocking airflow and then allowing harmful gases build up. So this is also a precaution to be exercised to control loose papers inside Roro areas. People carrying paper to record something or document something, writing on pieces of papers, they should be careful because if these are let loose, they can be sucked into the ventilation system. Once sucked into the ventilation system, they can block the airflow, and then this can allow buildup of harmful gases. Air quality should be monitored closely and during all operations, especially during carriage. It is recommended that the ventilation system in the holds carrying Roro cargo should be started 15 minutes prior to starting work. Give about 15-20 minutes to get the airflow going. Then you can allow entry. Of course, it has to be treated like an enclosed space. The time 15-20 minutes can vary depending on the size of the hold and the airflow. Semi trailer. If you remember, we had talked about it. Semi trailer, maybe cars, etc., already on top, and this is a trailer which is pushed or towed using a different method. Means there could be a tug नहीं tug तो होगा सी पे, a tractor or something pushing it. Then it has to be lashed here also. This number of lashings will depend on the weight of the vehicle. 3.5 to 20 ton, 2 minimum square points. 20 to 30 tons, 3, and 30 to 40, 4. This is coming from CSS code for securing semi-trailers. These are examples of lashing, can be used as examples, clasped here and can go into one attachment to the vehicle, can be tightened here. On the sides. This one has on both sides has got a hook. Or it could be a chain. Number of vehicles parked and then lashed. Remembering one thing, that once the vehicle is in stored position where it is intended to be parked, then the handbrake must be applied before the vehicle is exited by the driver. The handbrake must be applied and minimum fuel to be carried inside the vehicle to avoid any free surface. Normal precautions will stay. We talked about that. This you have noted down the three resolutions which are to be quoted. Resolutions are very lengthy. You cannot memorize them, but you should be able to tell which resolution talks about guidelines for securing road vehicles on ships. Right? And here, gentlemen, we will move on. Candidates, we will move on to what is called our resumption. In the safety, we were talking of ISPS code. Some part we had covered, and we will resume. This also we had left in between in the last safety class. Did we do the declaration of security? Why do we need it? We need it. It is intended to be used in exceptional cases related to high risk. There are times when need to reach an agreement between port facility and ship because security measures may be different. What is applied to PFSO and the ship. So it goes without saying that DOS, Declaration of Security, is the requirement is established by the flag state, individual flag state. What is the requirement of Declaration of Security? There are many companies which require in case any case to be a DOS every time you call a port. But really it is not essential as far as ISPS is concerned, but there are many companies who insist that a DOS should be made every time you call a port, irrespective whether it is needed or not. But if you go technically, then ISPS says each flag state is to design the requirement of DOS. So some cases where DOS may be required, ship operating at higher security level than the port, or interface between two ships and own ship is operating at higher security level than the other ship, maybe in a bunker operation. Then also DOS is required. In a worst case scenario, ship is calling a port which does not have a port facility security plan PFSO, or port facility security officer is not available, then also DOS has to be done. This could be, the last part could be in a case where the port is in a country that has not ratified ISPS code. But clearly, very seldom you will find something like this. But chances of a case where a ship is operating at a higher security level than the other ship is possible because of bunkering operations. Many times when you're bunkering, especially in a place like Panama Canal, the bunker barge does not hold a ISPS. It does not have ISCC, no ship security certificate. Then DOS has to be done immediately. Again, calls for DOS, ship of the flag, not ratified ISPS, and does not have a approved security plan. You will come to this when you are exchanging information with the other ship, maybe a STS operation, maybe a bunker operation, and you find out that this ship with which you are doing an interface does not have a ratified ISPS code. Then you have a clear condition where you have to make a declaration of security, DOS. And these are the reasons why you will fill up DOS. To make sure that ship's higher security level is efficiently conveyed to the port. You are declaring a security concern, DOS, and you are operating at higher security level than the port. So you are making sure by doing a DOS that the ship's high security level is efficiently conveyed to the port or the ship it is dealing with. You will also like to convey to the port or other ship at lower level that we would like to know why security at this port will, or what duties of security will be performed by the port and ship, why it is operating at a lower level. When you are doing DOS, you are asking the other ship or the port how they are going to restrict access to ships, their ship or our ship, own ship. We need to make a joint declaration with the port or other ship that some of the security duties as per the declaration of security will be done. There is a form, each SMS will contain a form, or maybe ship security plan will contain a form for individual companies, a form of declaration of security. Then that form needs to be filled up. This is not recommended by SPS, but there are companies and ships which require DOS to be completed at every port, irrespective of what the condition is. Some companies consider this to be a waste of paperwork. Perception. They do not think this is necessary and if it is not required and still doing it, they consider waste of paper. So it will depend on your SMS. It will depend on your ship security plan, whether you need to do DOS in every port or not. Anybody working in a company, I don't want to know the name of the company, but anybody working with a company which required DOS to be completed every port, irrespective of what the condition is. This is the form, an example of the form of DOS. Activity marked over here: loading, discharging, bunkering. That will be tick mark, maybe bunkering, tick mark. Husbandry means some crew change, etc. Repairs, refuge, dry dock, etc. So it says list the activities with relevant details. So loading and bunkering maybe. Then security levels. For the ship, maybe he has left here level 2, which means heightened threat of attack. And then for the port facility, it will be entered maybe level 2 or maybe level 1 only. This is DOS. Some important points are there in activities like monitoring restricted areas to ensure that only authorized people board or have access. So port facility will declare how he is doing it. Either he will just write yes, he is doing it, and the ship will write yes. So this is taken care of. Controlling access to the port facility, of course, this will come from port facility. Yes or no. Controlling access to the ship will come from the ship. Yes or no. This is only an example of declaration of security. The form may be different in your company manual. Monitoring the port facility for berthing area and area surrounding the ship. This will come only from the port facility. The ship, of course, you cannot monitor the port facility. Handling of cargo is both port facility and ship. Delivery of ship store, both port facility and ship. Whether they are examining the port facility of what is coming in and unaccompanied baggage also. Then, of course, as you're well aware, security drills and exercises is integral part of the ISPS code. Has to be done. Drills can be bomb threat, change in security level, stowaway or bomb search. Please remember, ISPS code recommends, and most of the ports also require a joint drill along with the port facility to be done at least once a year. A joint drill with the ship and the port facility to be done and documented at least once a year. This is a recommendation. So that is a very simple process. Let us say port facility XYZ port and your vessel MV so and so. You do a joint drill maybe for a bomb threat in port or change in security level or a stowaway search, a joint drill. Then that drill is captured in the form and signed both by the port facility security officer PFSO and your SSO, forwarded to the company for records. Like any other drill, the drill and exercise is to test the effectiveness of a certain code, in which case, in our case, we are discussing ISPs. The drill should aim to identify the gaps between outcome and actual performance to improvise. With this one you can answer. Are you carrying out ISPs drills on board? Security drills, that is. You see, you had
सर
not responded. Hanji.
सर लास्ट क्लास किसकी थी, कार्गो की या सेफ्टी की?
See, one class was for cargo, other class was for safety, right?
अभी
But
आपने कार्गो पढ़ाया, सेफ्टी पढ़ाया?
Shivang, come on. We had discussed Roro, ना Roro vessel lashing. तो वो कौन सी क्लास होगी बॉस?
क्या सर?
रोरो लैशिंग हमने डिस्कस की थी ना अभी.
सर आईएसपीएस भी तो था बीच में.
नहीं ISPs अब कर रहे हैं.
अभी करा तो रहे थे सर, 20 मिनट से मैं देख रहा हूँ, रिकॉर्डिंग में देख लो सर, कब से करा रहे हो आईएसपीएस?
I had mentioned that we have two classes in this session, one for cargo and one for safety, right? So we had started with cargo work, doing Roro lashings because that was an unfinished topic. Completing that, then we have moved on to safety, which is again an unfinished topic of ISPS. Now we are on safety topic.
ISPS सेफ्टी में नहीं है ऐसा.
मैं कब मना कर रहा हूँ, सेफ्टी की क्लास है. इसमें इतना कंफ्यूजन क्यों है शिवांग?
क्योंकि सर हमें दोनों के नोट्स बनाने हैं ना सर, कार्गो और सेफ्टी के नोट्स एक साथ नहीं बना सकते, अलग अलग बुक कॉपीज में लिखना पड़ता है ना
जी,
सर.
एक पॉइंट रिमेन्स ऋषभ कि आई स्टार्टेड विद रोरो लैशिंग, ये तो समझ रहे हो ना?
Yes, yes, sir.
स्टार्टेड विद
You
रोरो लैशिंग,
started with Roro
राइट?
lessons, then we did DOS, then we did ISPS part.
नहीं, उसके बाद we moved on to safety class.
Yes, sir.
Having finished the Roro lashing, which was an unfinished topic from Roro vessels.
Yes, sir.
I had mentioned that we are doing this as part of Roro vessels, which was an unfinished topic.
Yes,
Having
sir.
completed that, then we moved on to safety class, and we are now doing ISPS. That is also an unfinished topic, and soon we are going to move to BMP, Best Management Practices. लेकिन पहले ये खत्म होने दो.
Okay, sir.
ठीक. तो एक चीज और थी, I wanted to tell you and talk with you. You have what is called an annual drill planner. Because you did not respond, are you carrying out ISPS drills or not? So this is something like a drill planner, which is also part of your syllabus. As you can see, this calls for drills for ship security, piracy, terrorist, bomb threat, hijack, stowaway, like this. This is annual drill planner. And let me assure you, this question has been asked previously also. However, we are not discussing this right now, but I opened it out just to make sure you understand that you have to do ISPS drills also. In which case you are asked to draw a drill planner in your safety paper.
सर ये ड्रिल पैनल प्लानर के ऊपर क्या क्वेश्चन होता है सर?
ड्रिल प्लानर के ऊपर क्या क्वेश्चन आता है?
हाँ
ओके,
सर.
क्वेश्चन देखो ऐसा हो सकता है. फॉर अ एज अ चीफ ऑफिसर ऑन अ टैंकर of 20 crew members, draw a annual drill planner for your vessel for
सर
12 months.
ये तो वैसे भी कंपनी से आता है फॉर्म ड्रिल प्लानर तो.
एनुअल ड्रिल.
See, what the examiner wants to see is that do you know the type of drills to be done in this particular year, like this, the full system, and the duration, the interval between them.
सर इसमें मेन इंजन फेलियर जो दे रखा है वो 6 महीने का दे रखा है, 3 महीने में होता है वैसे.
कौन सा?
जो नीचे क्या मेन इंजन फेलियर, स्टीयरिंग फेलियर.
हाँ,
सर इसमें सर ये एनुअल ड्रिल प्लानर में लाइक मैंडेटरी ड्रिल जो हैं और जो 4-5 याद आती हैं वही वाली लिखनी है, ऐसा ही है ना?
करेक्ट करेक्ट करेक्ट.
मतलब इनक्लोज स्पेस, अबंडेंस शिप, फायर और बाकी ये हेलीकॉप्टर, ये मेन इंजन जो भी याद आती है, मतलब जो इकड़म दुकड़म, बाकी जो
देखो,
मैंडेटरी है वो मेन रखनी है ना.
ठीक है चेतन, ठीक है, मैं समझ गया, लेकिन कुछ तुमको जरूर इंक्लूड करनी चाहिए जो
जैसे
बहुत
इनक्लोज
इंपॉर्टेंट.
स्पेस होगी. हाँ जी, इनक्लोज स्पेस होगी.
तो
ये बहुत
चेतन
इंपॉर्टेंट बात.
एनक्लोज स्पेस का 6 महीने कब हो गया? 2 महीने होता है
2
think so
महीने. हाँ तो
mandatory.
2 महीने. हाँ तो
हाँ,
2
2
महीने
महीने,
का बनाना ना तू.
2
तू
महीने
अपनी कंपनी के हिसाब से 2 महीने का बनाना. मेरे भी
रिवाइज
2
हो
महीने.
गया. इट हैज बीन रिवाइज टू 2 months. तो ये इसका इंटेंशन सिर्फ यही है कि आप इसको लिस्ट कर लो, लेकिन ये अभी टॉपिक नहीं है. प्लीज डोंट मिक्स अप अगेन. दिस इज नॉट द टॉपिक. आई ओपनड आउट दिस slide only for the purpose of telling you कि ship security drills be included in. That is the only thing. This is not our topic today because again आप सारा confusion ना हो जाए, हो सकता है, ठीक है ना? तो we go back to what we were discussing like this. We came to that drill planner because of this, that we should be having ISPS drills. And then of course there is a form which you have, I think, very easily identifiable to record security drills like any other form. Name of the ship, IMO, date, place, security element tested, evaluation of result, and signature of the SSO. then you are supposed to carry one ISC, International Ship Security Certificate. This is a statutory certificate. You are supposed to hold it. Any ship is supposed to have it. Any ship means whose flag state has ratified SOLAS Convention, from where ISPS code is coming.
तो इस सर्टिफिकेट से कभी डिस्पेंसेशन मिल सकता है क्या?
Sorry,
इस सर्टिफिकेट के अगेंस्ट कभी डिस्पेंसेशन मिल सकता है क्या?
किसके अगेंस्ट?
ये सिक्योरिटी सर्टिफिकेट के ISSC के अगेंस्ट
डिस्पेंसेशन?
हाँ, मिल सकता है फ्लैग से.
I have not understood why a vessel will require dispensation. मतलब he is not holding the certificate.
लॉस्ट हो गया, खो
Lost
गया.
हो गया. Lost हो गया.
हम्म
कोई xerox तो होगा. Some record will be there. He can apply for a duplicate one, ना?
एग्जाम्पल सेल्वाडोर में खो गया, उससे रशिया जा रहा है नेक्स्ट पोर्ट ट्यूब से, 1 महीने की सेलिंग है, जिब्राल्टर क्रॉस करना है, सर्टिफिकेट खो गया, तो डिस्पेंसेशन मिलेगा नहीं मिलेगा फ्लैग से, या जहाज को रोकना पड़ेगा?
नहीं, रोकना नहीं पड़ेगा. It will be declared to the flag state that this is the condition. Then, as you understand, dispensation will not be so easy. The flag state might develop measures to ascertain that despite the fact that you are not in possession of ISSC, you are still holding good for ISPS. They might carry out an inspection survey to give you a dispensation, or they might ask you to carry out a risk assessment to make sure that you are familiar with ISPS. लेकिन रोकना नहीं पड़ेगा. Definitely don't have to stop. You will apply for dispensation. मिल जाएगा, इसमें कोई दो राय नहीं. Under the circumstances you are describing, the certificate is only lost. There is no other issue. Certificate has been misplaced rather. So of course you can get to go on the commercial voyage. That is no problem, but with conditions as imposed by the flag state. And this is the kind of certificate as a sample, example, ISSC certificate. Of course not important to memorize, but you should be aware certificate कैसे दिखता है. Now if there is a new building of a ship from a shipyard, then he will get an interim ISSC. Interim ISSC is valid for 6 months. Thereafter a new audit is done and then you get a final SSC, ISSC. First you get an interim one and then you can get a final one. जिसके ब्रैकेट में यहाँ पे एक्चुअली एक मिनट, जस्ट अ मिनट, यहाँ पे ना, यहाँ पे लिखा होगा, जैसे ये वाला है इंटरनेशनल शिप सिक्योरिटी सर्टिफिकेट, अगर ये फाइनल है तो ठीक है, नहीं तो यहाँ पे पॉसिबल है कि इंटरिम लिखा हो. एंड व्हेन यू गेट अ फाइनल वन डन, then this is cancelled and written final. Full term, again after interim has been verified, but this is only done full term after SSP has been implemented for at least 30 days and successful ISPS audit has been conducted. Full term is valid for 5 years. Interim is valid for this much period, 6 months, but full term is valid for 5 years. Then of course the full term certificate is subject to intermediate verification, endorsement by flag, or maybe renewal audit. Not like any other certificate, but total validity is 5 years. This is something you're well familiar, Ship Security Alert System or Alarm System, SSAS. This is a clear responsibility on the SSO. But more importantly, this system is required by ISPS and 2 security buttons are required to initiate SSAS so that there is a buffer and by mistake also it cannot be transmitted. So two security buttons. One of these buttons should be on the wheelhouse. Other one can be, normally I have seen located in master's office, but I have a different opinion. I suggest that it should be located in chief engineer's office, the second button. Because if there is an attack, if there is a boarding by security concern, the first thing they do is to capture the bridge, and then second they are looking for the master. So why not have a SS in a place which is not really taken into account by the attackers, like galley. Maybe galley thoda sa dicey hai because maybe the chief cook will not know how to operate it, but chief engineer's office is a very good idea where you can have a second button. It is only a thought, obviously. It is not something implemented by law. Now this is important. When SAS button is energized, alert goes to the flag state and the CSO. It is also a requirement by some flag state that the alert should go only to the CSO. They don't want to be disturbed. But normally the SAS alert goes both to the flag state and the CSO. This is to be tested annually. The procedure should be known to the SSO who is responsible for doing it. So this was about ISPS, SAS, Declaration of Security as part of safety. And we are taking a small break and coming back to continue on safety we are going to discuss HRA, high risk transit areas, and part of safety, right? Then we meet again at, let us say, 15:45. So this is one of the questions which has been asked previously. We now share screen to develop some answer to this. Please remember, we are into safety paper. Important to understand the threat, conduct risk assessments, implement ships protection measures, SPM, ship protection measures, report and cooperate. Cooperate with the MTO, UK MTO, and other authorities who help you to transit, including planned passage through IRCTC corridors. So when you are developing the contingency plan, you have to be careful of these points. First of all, keep yourself updated with latest happenings in the high risk area. And who can assist you in this? Normally, the CSO. The CSO gives you briefings, sends you what is happening in the high risk area. So for developing a contingency, you need to be updated always. Useful information can be gathered from important maritime websites. Collect all information available for these areas, which your ship is about to enter, HRA in short, high risk area. This is all the more important, including in the contingency, to carry out RA, detailed risk assessment, DRA. It is a good idea to have an emergency communication plan in place, not put into effect but in place, so that you are not looking for emergency contact numbers, which are these ones. These are available in BMP version 5.0, the emergency contacts for UK MTO, MSC HOA, Horn of Africa, Maritime Security Center, Horn of Africa. All the phone numbers, email IDs, and fax numbers, etc., are available in BMP version 5.0, which is also a part of our topic, but maybe we will not cover it today. But these numbers are available in that publication, which is supported by so many organizations. For which reason I'm talking of this, which you can easily understand. BMP version 5.0, best management practices to deter piracy and enhance maritime security in these regions which are identified as piracy area, high risk area. This is a publication which is clearly available, but what I want to stress is that this publication is produced and supported by organizations like BIMCO, Intercargo, SICTO, to name a few. Interpol, IMB, International Maritime Bureau. All these organizations, including OCIMF, support this publication. So it becomes a very important one, which is BMP version 5.0. In this publication, you can lay your hands and you can easily find these contacts also. So this is also a point you will consider while developing your contingency to keep the information for contact ready at hand so that you need not look for the information, it is available. Part of contingency. This is emergency communication plan. Ship security assessment and plan should be reviewed. Before you transit HRA, you should review the SSA and the SSP. Company security officer will encourage ship personnel, especially SSO and master, to implement SSP. Carry out exercises, briefings well ahead of the ship passing HRA. Crew safety is paramount, so take all measures for that. Now the location of muster station and citadel, that is there already pronounced on the board, but should be easily and quickly accessible by ship's crew, and more importantly, it should be identifiable to the ship's crew. Contingency will also include checking ship's freeboard. Keep your freeboard as much as possible, as high as possible. Now, just by experience, it is said that a ship having a minimum freeboard greater than 8 meters have better chances of escaping piracy attempt. It is not a 100% foolproof method, but keep your freeboard at least 8 meters or more. At this point of time, it is a thing I can recall that somewhere in 2006 or 7, one particular PCC, of course with a very high freeboard, was somewhere around Somalia piracy region, and they had stopped. They were drifting in that region with all the precautions in place, but they were drifting. The reason extended was they were having a get together on board for the Christmas. And on that vessel, the pirates managed to board because the vessel was stopped, although large freeboard, but they were under attack. So it is also important to keep ship speed more than 18 knots if possible, otherwise at least maximum speed. For which reason the contingency will involve a team meeting along with the engineers to make emphasize that you will need maximum speed possible while in transit through HRA. One of the best methods considered to avoid piracy attack is speed. Till now, this thing was implemented. It is noticed that no reports of ships having more than 18 knots getting hijacked. So at least you should proceed at full speed. If not 18 knots possible for your vessel, at least full speed. Latest information regarding pirate attacks should be noted down carefully to get an update. Usually pirate attacks are carried out using small crafts. These are supported by bigger vessels called motherships. So the small crafts have to be launched from the mothership. So any area with moderate sea state will make it difficult for these small craft. So you can select the area where you have sea swell and sea state above wind force 4. Fire pumps, engines, all should be carefully checked, tried out even before you enter HRA. Fire pumps will be required to run to pressurized fire hoses which are rigged along the ship side. Main engine should be working properly to transit at full speed. It's important to brief your crew. Do not leave them out. Brief the crew regarding the transit and conduct drills. This is part of contingency and risk assessment. Conduct drills. Although you might say that the drill was conducted just recently, 15 days back, it is not a bad idea to do another drill. Because you're entering HRA to revise the whole thing, it is a good idea to conduct another drill for the purpose of contingency. When you're doing the drill, you should make sure that all people, personnel, know their duties and familiar with piracy alarms and necessary response. Because Citadel alarm should be a different one and people should recognize it. That is more important. There's no point in having a dedicated Citadel alarm if people do not realize that it is a Citadel alarm. So drill should include sounding of the Citadel alarm. If it is different, it should be different actually from your general alarm, and then response. Secure doors and hatches. All doors and hatches providing access to bridge, accommodation and machinery space should be properly secured. If required, additional means should be employed to secure them. Maybe bolting from inside. Carefully bolting from inside to be capable of open from inside also in case of another emergency. Procedure for controlling access to these parts should also be exercised during drill. Physical barriers, if possible, should be used like razor wires, electrified fences along the periphery of the vessel. Water cannons, fire pumps, fire hoses to be deployed. Not to be ready, but to be deployed. Contingency will also include checking of all alarms and backlights working properly. Checking of AIS system and seeing that it can be changed for navigational status. Now, normal recommendation is to keep the AIS on, but the company may be of a different opinion. Some companies have got instructions to switch off AIS during HRA transit. Anybody with experience regarding AIS in HRA? Whether you kept it on or off. Whenever people are keeping lookouts, watches, or maybe roving watch, they should be carrying a radio and communicate with each other for simple reason that people should be aware that everything is going well. Test all communication equipment. In addition, factors like the ship's route, weather conditions, etc. should also be taken into review. That is to develop the contingency. But most importantly, when you're developing the contingency plan for transit HRA, you are going to deploy what is called BMP version 5.0 compulsorily. It contains 7 sections and annexures from A alpha to Juliet, annexures and 7 sections. Threats. Maritime threats are not static, they are dynamic. They will keep on changing with time. Over a period of time, the threat will also change. It may be a different one today, another threat may erupt or could be possible in 2 days' time. So they are dynamic threats. That is why obtaining current threat information is critical, both for risk assessment and decision making. RA has to be conducted, no doubt about it. Ship protection measures, whatever you have deployed, should be also implemented and taken into review before you enter HRA. Talking of reports, you have to report to UKMTO and register with MSCOA, Maritime Safety Center, Horn of Africa, MSCOA. Report any incidents and suspicious activities to keep everybody in loop and also to help these authorities to identify any threats. You must cooperate with shipping and military forces, other shipping and military forces. Law enforcement by naval forces, etc., should be also cooperated with. BMP actually just
सर एक बार ऊपर करना आपका ये थोड़ा सा स्लाइड जो आपने उसके बाद बताया.
हाँ जी बोलिए यहाँ पे
थोड़ा सा और ऊपर करना.
ओके
डाउन सर और नीचे और नीचे. थैंक यू सर.
ठीक है
हाँ ठीक है सर. थैंक यू.
ओके जी Of course, there are various reasons why you have maritime security threats, but they include deliberate targeting of ships because ships are soft targets. Collateral damage from regional conflicts means two countries are at war and you have a collateral damage. The ship is just coming under the line of fire for nothing. Now, PMP measures, as described in this publication, are only efforts to mitigate threat. They are not the ones which will stop the threat. Threat cannot be stopped, but they will only attempt to mitigate or lessen the risk. That is all. For example, attacks carried out by extremists could be very detrimental because they are willing to take risks, their lives at risk. So it is better to have some mitigating efforts rather than to just leave it as act of God. So BMP only helps you to lessen the threat perception. These two websites are very important and they help to actually mitigate threats by giving you assistance. www.ukmto.org and MSCOA. Disclaimer: you have the overriding authority and responsibility. Overriding means go away from BMP also if required. When you follow BMP, how does it help you? I mean, apart from the threat perception, from insurance point of view, how does BMP help you? When the vessel is under attack in HRA, is it covered by insurance? You are supposed to have the vessel or the ship owner is supposed to carry what is called a separate cover, which is called kidnap and ransom insurance cover, KNR. This is a separate cover. Apart from the normal hull and machinery P&I, he carries what is called a kidnap and ransom KNR cover. Now that helps. That premium is reduced. That premium of this cover is reduced if you have BMP implemented. Then they reduce the premium. You want to see what it is? Although not part of our topic. KNR cover. Okay, we'll take it up, no problem. This is a lengthy topic. Now there are two areas. One is high risk area and another one is voluntary risk area. Voluntary is, where you implement all measures, it is voluntary. High risk area is recognized as the area where you have security concerns. Please note, HRA is outlined on the maritime security chart which you must have on board. This is also part of your contingency to be in possession of what is called maritime security chart Q6099. This you must have. This is a chart which outlines everything. This chart is a must for transiting HRA. MSTC, Maritime Security Transit Corridor. This is a military established corridor which naval forces focus their attention to. This is also exhibited, the MSTC, the transit corridor is also listed or exhibited on Q6099 chart. This chart will contain the internationally recommended transit corridor IRTC. It is not a TSS but an established transit corridor in the Gulf of Aden, where naval forces are who are actually instrumental in controlling or countering piracy patrols will be focusing their attention to this corridor IRTC. Let's have a look at this. This is the one. See, when you are under that kidnap and ransom cover, that particular insurance community who has given you the cover might give you a possibility or can help you to notify which is the area under concern now. That also helps. Threat. This is very interesting actually, because just a minute, I will come back. Threat, of course, with different devices, but this is very important. It is kind of a triangle. It is a triangle. Capability, intent, and opportunity are the three sides. In the center is what constitutes threat. So threat is formed by these three sides: capability, intent, and opportunity. They form the three sides, and then it can constitute what is called threat. If you can remember, you can compare this with a fire triangle, but this is threat in the center. And if you understand, see, capability, intent, and opportunity. Capability is coming how? For a terrorist, for a pirate, how is he getting capable to commit the act? How is his capability being judged? Or how can he be a capable person to carry out the threat as a pirate? Capability. By possessing weapons, right? His intent is to harm the vessel, not harm the vessel, maybe for money or something. So that is his intention. You cannot mitigate capability and intent because that is something which is inherited by the pirate. But what you can mitigate is opportunity to lessen the effect. If you remove one side of the triangle, you are going to reduce the threat. So capability you cannot reduce because he's obtained the weapons from whatever source. Intent is coming from within himself. That cannot be done. But opportunity can be controlled. This part of the triangle can be controlled. As far as the attacker is concerned or pirate is concerned in the HRA. Compare this with a law enforcer, like a policeman. He is capable, he is also got weapon. He got an opportunity. If he gets an opportunity, he can fire. He can fire on the lawbreaker. But what is missing in this triangle is the intent. His intention is not to harm. Therefore, threat is lessened down for a law enforcer. So these three sides form what is called a threat, and you cannot do anything about capability, neither you can do much about intent, because this is generic, this is coming from within, but you can lessen the opportunity and then you can mitigate threat. So capability means attackers have the physical means to conduct the attack. Intent is demonstrated by continued attacks or coming from within, from training itself for the pirate. And opportunity is what can be mitigated by the company. So whenever you are deploying BMP 5.0 or taking measures or carrying out RAs, etc., you are only mitigating the threat part. or the opportunity part rather. By mitigating opportunity, you're lessening the threat. Definitely one side of the triangle is removed, the threat is minimized. You can't do anything about capability or intent, so what you can do by using BMP is to minimize opportunity. By providing physical barriers, by taking continuous rounds, by maybe even deploying what is called armed guards. That is also a part of mitigating threat. Right? Very important triangle, I felt. These are some weapons which may be used, of course, not much control over them, but just for information only. Which is something like this: anti-ship missiles, very long range accurate ones, sea mines. Now this is very difficult to detect also on merchant ships. Waterborne improvised explosive devices, WBIED. WBIED. These are something again very difficult to detect, or at least detect by merchant ships. These are waterborne and they are explosive devices. So when you come into contact with them, I mean when the ship comes into contact with them, they can explode. They are used by extremists. Pirates also use it, but mostly reported to be used by extremists because they cause a lot of harm. See, when you talk about extremists, the difference between them and pirate is these people are looking for media coverage. They are looking to make news because then they get their recognition. Pirate is more interested in making money. He's more interested in getting some money. But extremists, they are more interested in getting media coverage that will make news and give them the coverage they want to highlight their issues. It is important. These things are important to understand psychology. So let's continue. You have understood this one, very important one. Risk assessment, a very integral part of voyage planning. Risk assessment, very, very important. Should be done very carefully and maybe repeated exercise. Once done, maybe second time also, so that nothing is missed out. When you are doing the risk assessment, which is also part of the question, you see the question, one minute, let me just see the question again. What are the points to consider for development of a contingency plan for your vessel's planned transit through HRA, full stop, and risk assessment, and carry out RA for the safe passage? This was the complete question. So risk assessment as a topic is still to be done, but you can understand it forms an integral part of HRA transit. So risk assessment RA can be including these factors: requirement of flag state, company, charterers, insurers, threat assessment, geographical means of increased risk. RA में जा रहा है ये. Background factors, situations, traffic patterns, local patterns of including fishing vessel activities, presence of UKMTO, embarkation of piracy controlled armed security personnel, PCASP, or security guards in short. Then the ship's individual characteristics, vulnerability, including citadel and safe muster point, SMP, freeboard, speed, general arrangement. All this will be part of RA. Maybe you can make a small note because we will be doing the RA also. Actually doing it just to get some practice. RA for a HRA transit. But we'll do the RA actual one, I mean as an example, only when we have covered the topic of RA in safety paper. We have still to cover it to understand the basics of RA, and then we will move on to it. This is important since the dynamic threats are dynamic. It is essential that a detailed risk assessment is completed for each voice. You cannot just complete once and say it is done. This should be done on a regular basis because threat itself is not static, it is dynamic. So it is changing. So every time the threat is changing, a new RA is required. When you talk of planning, planning is both by the company as well as the ship. Company planning, of course, will involve review of the threat and risk assessment. You carry out RA and you send it back to the company so they can review it. It will also formulate the review of SSA and SSP. And the vessel hardening plan means to make life difficult for the pirate to board, in short. Then company mandated ship protection measures, SPM, due diligence of private maritime companies for possibility of armed guards, and placement of hidden position transmitting devices. Review of company manning requirements may be disembarking. This is important, very, very important. Consider disembarking non-essential crew prior to start of HRA. This is very important and very well, I think, documented. You should take into consideration disembarking non-essential crew, maybe riding squad. It's not required for HRA transit. He can board again in the exit corridor. He should be disembarked. The lesser people you have on board, the lesser chances of you succumbing to pirate attack means at least head count is low. Do not allow critical voice information to fall into wrong hands. So keep external communications very limited. Very limited communication, including correspondence to agents, charterers, ship handlers. Controlled and kept concise so that minimum communication is can be laid hands upon by non people who are having misgivings. So there are different plans of action, one for entering voluntary reporting area VRA and one for entering HRA. Voluntary reporting area means you will later obtain latest threat information. You will check your latest nav area warnings, nav text messages, implement the processes for MSCOA and UKMDO. And maybe you will confirm armed security guards boarding plan. Ship protection measures could, as an example, look something like this. Primary layer of defense, which is good lookout, vigilance, razor wires, maneuvering, and speed freeboard, etc. Or maybe armed guards. This is a primary layer of defense. Secondary layer of defense could include door hardening, gate, grate, monitoring or censoring, monitor CCTV. And last layer of defense will be internal door hardening, Citadel, Safe Mastering Point, SMP, communications. I suggest you make a small sketch of this. This is ship protection measures. 3 layers, primary, secondary and last layer. Effective lookout, one of the most effective methods of ship protection to identify suspicious approach or early warnings of attack. So, effective lookout. For this, of course, not only manpower but training is required. Fixed searchlights for better monitoring. Also, when you are switching on the fixed searchlights with a powerful beam, they are also warning the attackers to deter. Maneuvering. Avoidance maneuver is best. Avoidance maneuver, but obviously this maneuver should be practiced when it is safe to do so. Means in open sea and non-HRA area, you can practice this maneuver. Of course, provided your company charters everybody agrees to it. Since you have been told that you will be transmitting HRA, then maybe you can ask for this maneuver practice, avoidance maneuver, which is a zigzag maneuver. This will help you to ensure familiarity with the ship's handling characteristics. And also, this will tell you how best possible speed can be attained for doing this maneuver. Creation of hydrostatic pressure, a variation of hydrostatic pressure on both sides of the vessel due to maneuvering is one of the better defensive impacts than speed also. It is a very good impact when you bring the small craft which is containing attackers into the wake of the propeller. But this will only come by practice. Avoidance maneuver or maneuver to deter attack. Reservoir. You're not responding. Nobody has deployed this. Never done HRA with reservoirs. They're not so simple, huh? Let me tell you. When you uncoil them, there is a good chance that somebody can get hurt because they spring up like they open up, they unwound like springs. This one, reservoir. Looks very good, but I can assure you, I have been on ships which it deployed this. Very, very dangerous when you are uncoiling it. It just springs open, hurting people or can hurt people rather. So, if possible, obtain them in short sections, maybe 10 meters or so, to safer movement and better way of handling. Water spray and foam monitors can also be used and are used. Not can be used, are used. So this is also a deterrent by using fire hoses in jet mode and water foam monitors. Water delivers can be delivered in vertical sweeping arc, right? It is possible that you may require all the available fire and general service pumps to ensure good pressure. This is why you will need to have a meeting with our friends down below also, appraisal of them that there is a situation and you will require everything to deter attacks. So we will continue in the next safety class. The topic is still to be done. But are you good up till now? Any concerns? Anything you want to raise? Otherwise, you can respond to this chat box for the feedback. That will take care for time being. For today's session, this is it. I'm done for today's session.